Welcome to Math with Mr. P. Today we're doing 7th grade math. We're doing chapter 1, lesson 6. We are going to be solving proportional relationships. So let's take a look at our notes. Proportion is an equation stating that two ratios or rates are equivalent. So 6/8 and 3/4 are equivalent. They're basically fractions that are written in a different form. If you double 3/4, you'll get 6/8. So these are equivalent ratios. 1/2 and 10/20 are also equivalent proportions because they will just be multiplied by 10 in order to go from 1/2 to 10/20. Cross products. How do we find if equations are proportional or equal? Example, 2/3 equals 10/15. 2 times 15 will equal 30, while 3 times 10 equals 30. You can use cross products to write proportions and solve them when there is a letter or variable. So this is where we're going to start getting into a little bit of algebra. So we have 7/2 equals 13/t. So if we know that 2 times 13 equals 26, then we know that 7 times t should equal 26. So again, let me go ahead and start doing this on a board. So we're going to use the first example, which is 6/8 and 3/4. So we know these are equal because, again, we know that if we multiply this by 2, we will get 6/8. So these are equivalent ratios. But if we can't find something that easy, what we do is we cross-check, or as our notes say, cross products. We multiply across, and both numbers should equal the same thing. So I know that 8 times 3 is 24, and I know that 6 times 4 is 24. So because they both equal 24, we multiply across, they are going to be proportional. They are equivalent. Therefore, utilizing the other example of 7/2 equaling 13/t, and t being our mystery number, again, it could be at any letter, x, y, whatever, we are going to do cross products. 2 times 13 is going to be 26. So 7 times t, or 7t, should equal 26. Another way to write this would be 7t equals 26. Now remember, when we deal with variables, we want to isolate the variable. So we are going to undo what's happening to t, which is it being multiplied by 7. I'm going to divide by 7 to cross that out, but I'll have to do the same thing to the other side of the equation. So t will equal 26 divided by 7. 26 divided by 7 will give me an approximate answer of 3.714285571, or rounded to the nearest hundredth. Since that's a 4, this will just fade away, and it'll be approximately 3.71. Or as this one gave us, 3.7. I round to the nearest hundredth, but 3.7, 3.71, that's fine. All right, so we have another example here of x over 4 equaling 9/10. We're going to go ahead and clear this off. Again, our example is x over 4 equaling 9/10. I'm going to make sure I wrote that correctly. All right, then remember, when we cross products, these should be equal. So 4 times 9 will give me a product of 36. Therefore, 10 times x, or 10x, should equal 36. Again, we isolate the variable, so I'm going to divide by 10 here, and I'm going to divide by 10 here. When I do 36 divided by 10, I'm going to get 3.5, so x is going to equal 3.6. It's going to equal 3.6. So that is how we solve missing variables when it comes to solving proportional relationships. So we're going to go ahead and look at an example here. We did that example. Let's do some of these. So we just did this one. Let's do B. B is 2 over 34 will equal 5y. Now, we can do one of two things. We can cross products, or we can actually simplify one of these first, which would be this one. 234 is not simplified. Therefore, I can divide these both by 2. If I divide 2 by 2, it will be 1. And if I divide 34 by 2, mental math, 34 is made up of 30 and 4. Half of 30 is 15, half of 4 is 2. That would give me 17. So this becomes 1 over 17. And this is a lot more manageable because now it will be 1 times y, or just y, will equal whatever 5 times 17 is. And we'd find our answer. And 5 times 17 would be 85. So y would equal 85. So it'd be 1/17 equals 5 over 85. So again, let's break that one down a little bit slower so we understand it. So 2 over 34. So my first thing was I have 2 over 34 equaling 5 over y. My first step was to simplify this, because if I didn't simplify, I could still multiply, but guess what? Now you're going to have 2y equals 5 times 34, which is 170, divided by 2, and it'll still give us the answer of 85, but it's extra steps. So if you want to do it this way, that's fine, but the way that I did it was to simplify this fraction right now by dividing them both by 2. When I do that, again, 2 becomes 1, because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 34 divided by 2 will give me 17. So you can simplify before you multiply, or you can simplify after. It's up to you. I just think this makes it easier because now all I have is y times 1, which would be y, and y would equal whatever 5 times 17 is, which we said was 85. 5 times 17, putting in the calculator, does equal 85, so therefore y equals 85. All right, let's look at the other example for today. The other example is 7 over 3 equaling n over 21. And I want to make sure this wasn't one that we just did on our notes. No, it was 7 over 2. Okay, so this is not the one that we did. So we can go ahead and do this one. We'll have 7 over 3 equals n over 21. Now, 7 and 3 have no common factors, so I'm not going to simplify here. So I am just going to do cross products. 3 times n will give me 3n will equal 7 times 21. And you're going to want to use calculators, or you can show your work. That 7 times 21 will be 147. Now I need to isolate the variable by dividing it by 3. I need to undo what's happening to n. That'll cancel out. N will now equal whatever 147 divided by 3 is, which will give me a total of n equaling 49. And that's it. All right, let's do some examples from the homework. So, determine whether each pair of ratios form a proportion. So we need to figure out if these are going to be equal or not. 5/8 and 2/3. Now remember, the easiest way to do this is to just cross multiply and find the cross products. 8 times 2 is 16, while 5 times 3 is 15. So these are not proportional. So my answer for this one would be no, not proportional. If we look at my answer, no. And you'd have to show your work just like I did, where you're showing the products of the two and showing that they're not. And then number 2, Actually, let's skip to number 4. Number 4 would be 16 over 9 equaling 11 over 6, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Now, I have no common factors here to be able to simplify, and this is where calculators are going to come really in handy. I know that 9 times 11 is going to be 99, and let's see if 16 times 6 becomes 99. And I'm plugging it into a calculator, and equals actually 96 instead. Therefore, no, not proportional. All right, and then these bottom ones you would solve the same way that we were working. So I'll do 26 here. Random number on the homework right now. Number 26 states that 0.9 over 0.5 is equal to a over 10. So again, cross a times 0.5 will equal 0.9 times 10, which will give us just 9. This way, I would have to divide, and I know I wrote this wrong. It should have been 0.5a. There we go. I'll divide this side by 0.5, which will cancel out, and I'll divide this by 0.5. 9 divided by 0.5 will give me a equaling 18. So just make sure you're showing your work with each step as you go along. That is the entire lesson for lesson 6. Any questions, concerns at all, you guys know how to reach me. Otherwise, I'm Mr. P, and this has been Chapter 1, Lesson 6.